Here is the question. What were the people of Gaza supposed to do? I'm going to give you a frank, personal admission, and I'm not proud of it, but I want to place this current situation in context. I first became involved in the Israel-Palestine conflict in June 1982, when Israel invaded Lebanon. I ended up writing my doctoral dissertation on a topic related to the Israel-Palestine conflict. And then I ended up devoting the whole of my adult life to that conflict. 40 years. And come 2020, even I gave up. I started to write about other subjects. I thought the situation was hopeless. Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of guilt stirred up inside me because I realized I was abandoning a people trapped in a concentration camp. Now, I don't want to be emotive. I don't want to be dramatic. However, it behooves me to say both my parents were in concentration camps during World War II. My mother was in Majdanek concentration camp. My father was in Auschwitz concentration camp. And I was riddled with guilt that people facing circumstances like my parents, and I had abandoned them. So, if even I had abandoned them, not making any claims to sainthood, but simply the fact that I invested 40 years of my life in that conflict and finally had to resign myself to the fact that nothing could be done. So, does it really surprise you? Is it really a shock that a couple of days ago, the people of Gaza, most of whom, let's bear it in mind, most of whom were born in that concentration camp. Mm-hmm. They were born into it. Does it really shock you that they would do something desperate to break free of that concentration camp? Mm. And who dare criticize whatever tactics they employ? I am not approving it, but I am not disapproving it, because I don't know what I would do if I had been born into a concentration camp and spent 20 years of my life there. Now, periodically, Israel launches these brutal, merciless, criminal assaults on Gaza. There are so many of them that literally I can't remember all the names, but at least two might be familiar to your listeners. In 2007, Israel launched Operation Cast Lead. It went from December 26, 2008 to January 17th, 2009. Amnesty International published a report on that, a large report on that assault. They called the report 22 days of death and destruction. Israel killed about 1,400 people including 350 children. It demolished, it flattened 6,000 homes. Then I'm going to skip the 3 or 4 other assaults and go to 2014. Israel launches Operation Protective Edge. It kills 550 Palestinian children. It demolishes 18,000 homes. Peter Maurer, he was the president of the International Committee of the Red Cross. He went to visit Gaza after those 51 days of death and destruction. And now I'm going to quote him. I hope your audience will bear in mind, we're talking about the president of the International Committee of the Red Cross, which means he's seen many war zones. Indeed, his job is to visit war zones. And this is what he had to say after Israel's Operation Protective Edge. Quote, I've never seen such massive destruction ever before. I've never seen such massive destruction ever before. And who is this destruction being visited upon? This unprecedented destruction, who is it being visited on? It's being visited on a population that's overwhelmingly refugees and which is half children. That's who the heroic IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, inflicts the most massive destruction that the president of the ICRC ever witnessed in his professional career. Yeah. Now, you might say, justifiably, you can talk about options. Well, why haven't the Palestinians tried nonviolence? Why haven't the people of Gaza tried nonviolence? But they did. In 2018, they launched the Great March of Return. And at the beginning, it was wholly nonviolent. What did Israel do? Well, there is a very good human rights report that was issued by the UN describing what Israel did. Does the audience want to know? I'll tell them. According to the report, Israel targeted medical personnel, It targeted journalists. It targeted people with physical disabilities. What were the snipers targeting? They were targeting kneecaps and below. So, let's go back to the basic question. What were they supposed to do?